Richard, this is Mike. How are you?
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing great. Happy birthday. I didn't forget.
You remembered. Thank you.
No problem. How's everything going?
Everything's going good. How are you?
I'm doing great. I can't complain. I'm happy that, Shark Island is around still, putting out music, and, with Bloodline, you did a great job a year ago when it came out, and you decided to re-release the record again.
Well, I did. I just out of the blue, we've kind of been talking about it for a while. I was doing some different people during the tourist season, and the guys that were backing me up kind of talked me into it. Let's just do a record. So, and I kind of, it was kind of fun. And I said, well, why not? Let's just do it. So I put together a record. Yeah. Are you there?
Yeah, I lost you for a second, but you're back.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Yeah, did you get me with it would be cut out or what?
No, you're okay. It's not a problem.
Okay.
We can fix that right up. But like I said, it was a great job when this record came out. I mean, even if you go back to, Gathering of the Faithful, which came out, it's hard to believe, like 13, 14 years before this album. I mean, it feels like there's this new vibe going on with the band right now. Of course, things change from the 80s. Music and sound-wise, everything's different. But it feels like you're kind of free to write what you want to write right now. Like, there's no chains on you like there used to be probably in the 80s because you had 100 people telling you which way to go music-wise.
Right. Yeah, it's quite a change right now. Even from like a band standpoint, it's different. I mean, the structure of bands are different than they used to be. I remember, years ago, a band was like your buddies. They were like, we were like the Musketeers, and we were close, and we spent time together. We were like brothers, right? And that is not the case anymore. Everybody's playing several gigs at the same time, and that sort of thing. And then, of course, like you mentioned, the recording of it, the recording company, the record companies are completely different. Everybody's doing independent things now, and you just license things for a short period of time. Like this record, we actually did this record originally just on our own. I had the help of a small boutique record company that kind of financed it for us. But as far as distribution goes, we did it all ourselves and just did it to our kind of cult fan base that we have, and then we ended up selling out of everything, and then we decided, well, let's go with kind of more of a traditional record company so that we can, expose ourselves to different territories. So that's what we did. So,
yeah.
I mean, we didn't have any preconceived plans. That's just the way it came out. One thing led to another, and it's going pretty good now. So it was kind of a surprise to everybody.
I'm glad for that. And what you said, you did it on your own. If you go back to the 60s, the 70s, even to the early 80s, every band starting out had to do everything on their own. From the promotion, the advertising, putting up, flyers on telephone poles, and paying to go into the studio to make demo tapes and put on maybe their own singles or records. It's kind of gone full circle, but at least back then you had the dream of getting signed to a major label and having them take care of everything. But a lot of bands found out when they got signed to that label, they wish they didn't sometimes.
No, everything gets polluted over time, and it gets exploited to a point of just ridiculousness, and then it kind of resets and goes, like you said, comes full circle again. I don't know what to expect. The biggest difference with me is that I don't carry much expectation anymore. I mean, when I was young, it was like we were really laser focused to try to do something, and the years of different levels of disappointment, and it takes the wind out of your sails, and I found it better just not to expect anything, just to kind of do what I do at the time, do your best job you can, and just walk gingerly forward and have these big letdowns,
Yeah.
So, doing all right.
Yeah, no, I understand that. But when you think of the band started as Shark in the late 70s, early 80s, you guys were creating stuff and doing stuff before really anything was really taking place or happening, especially out in California. I mean, you guys were way ahead of the curve back then, at least, in what you were doing. It wasn't until like around 85 and you changed your name, I guess, that maybe more came into focus as far as the image of the band and what you wanted to do than the 5 years before that. But, I mean, did it make it harder when you changed the name of the band because people knew you as one and now you were a different name, even though it was very similar? Did that affect the band at all in any way? Was it more of a boost to say, this is us now and here's what we're doing?
Yeah, well, we kind of tried. That's why we kind of kept the Shark thing within the name. But the Sharks early on, we were basically we were a top 40 band. That was like, it was like late 70s, early 80s. We did cover music, and we played at clubs, six nights a week. We 3 shows a night, sometimes 4 shows a night, playing all kinds of music, from Led Zeppelin to David Bowie to Kiss to Casey and the Sunshine Band. We did a lot of cover. That's how we survived. We just played. We didn't have day jobs or something. And then once the climate changed in LA, it was kind of after Van Halen kind of moved through. Everything started going original, and we were already working on a lot of original stuff, and then we decided that the Sharks really, the top 40 band, the cover band wasn't enough, so we kind of we saw it as it was kind of like an expansion. So okay, this is Sharks doing original music, so Shark Island, and that's how we kind of justified it all.
Yeah.
So we've been in a long time.
Yeah,
long time, Mike.
You're not kidding. But they were great times in a way. I mean, being a kid in the 80s, and going to all these shows and all these clubs. I'm in New York, but we saw the bands come through town when they did, and it was just an amazing time for music in general. I mean, how difficult but as a band who's actually trying to make something of it, I mean, you could be the club band all your life and have a great time doing it and not have any more expectations, but being the band that wants to get to the next level, go to the arenas, move up in the stature and in the business and in the scene, how difficult was it competing with so many other bands that were like, we all know now that, let's face it, it's more luck sometimes than actual talent and ability. Who makes it, who doesn't. You scratch your head sometimes, but how difficult was it in the mid-'80s trying to, say, we got to make our mark?
Well, it was fierce. It was fierce, and just looking at it from LA, from an LA standpoint, during the time when we were, really rocking it up on Sunset Strip. At the time, there was a quoted 10,000 bands in Southern California. 10,000.
It's a lot.
Okay, and then if every band, let's just say, well, that's 40,000 people. If that's, so between 40 and 50,000 individuals and 10,000 bands trying to vie for very few positions, and when you have that kind of disparity between, supply and demand, what happens, if you only have a few clubs you can play at. In LA, there was probably, six clubs in the kind of LA Hollywood area that were of any size, and then you had 10,000 bands wanting to get those positions. That's how that whole pay to play phenomenon came. There was really no incentive for a club owner, for instance, to take a risk on a band that wasn't going to pack the house. I mean, from a club standpoint, they want the club packed every night, so you need to have it packed. So what do? You, in order for the band to play, they would have to prepay tickets to pack the house. So you would have to bands would have to, buy thousands of dollars worth of tickets and then sell them individually or give them out to their friends, and or whatever. If they had rich parents, it didn't really matter to recoup. But fortunately, we were drawing enough that we never had to do that, because we were packing the house every weekend for 2 years on the Sunset Strip. Just because we were so prolific and we were playing so much, and we had a great crowd of people that just followed us around, and it was just, but it was difficult. It was difficult. It was cutthroat. It was a lot of stress. It was a lot of work. I mean, it's a lot of work to play 6 nights a week. People don't think about that. No one does that anymore.
No.
Hell, now you can't even play 1 night a week. You can't do anything now. But I mean, there was a time when your clothes and your hair and your skin smelled perpetually of tobacco, just from being in a club and sweating and just, you just throwing clothes away and you just keep going. That's all you did. I mean, it's hard to imagine now. It's hard to imagine that kind of life now, but that's what it was like. It was a lot of hard work.
Yeah, people don't see that. They just see the movie Rockstar, where everybody's at a bus party and having a good time, have all the girls around them, but they don't see all the hard work that goes into making that happen.
No,
no,
they don't.
Yeah, and like you said,
it's not that glamorous as it looks. I mean, it's easy to go to be on tour, and to show up in Dallas or in LA or in London and do a big show, and then there's a party afterwards, and everybody's like, everybody's drinking and carrying on, and they don't realize that, gee, we're gonna get on a bus now, and we're gonna be driving all night,
yeah.
and showing up and doing press, at 8 o'clock in the morning. But you make those appearances and those shows, those show-ups, just for optics, that just happens, so, but it's a lot of work. People don't realize how much work it actually is.
It really is. And like you said, bands are on their own doing everything they can by themselves, but when do you feel like you got your first big break? When do you feel like there was that one person, because there's a lot of shady people, in this business you find out you have to deal with, but when did you feel like, we had this break given to us by somebody and it really worked out for us, and they were honest, they were straightforward with you, and they kind of moved on to the next level? Did that happen?
No, it never happened. You always think that there's something more. I mean, my dreams were, a lot bigger than I ever attained. I mean, there was great stuff. You get a movie soundtrack on a major movie. You go, oh God, this was my big break. This is great. But 10 minutes later, you're already going, oh gosh, we got to get ready for this other thing, and it's never as big as you planned, and it's never as much as you wanted. So there's been moments of big breaks. So there was moments when you get a development deal with A&M Records. There's moments when you get a big deal with Epic Records, or if somebody calls you up that you admired and wants to work with you and stuff. There's moments along the way, but I never personally felt like I even made it. Really. I mean, when I compare what my expectations were to what actually is, it's quite a big difference. Am I disappointed? Kind of in point at moments, but if I look at the great picture, it's all right. I'm doing all right, and I probably did more than I deserved. But you never feel like you really get there, Mike. It's just more of a journey than anything else. And I think one of the sometimes when you feel like, if you allow yourself to feel like you've made it, I think you may just stop at that point. You may just go, okay, I'm here, now what do I do? But if you don't have something to do right after that moment, you're in big trouble.
Yeah.
Because you get like a momentum. It's like being on a bicycle, and you pedal and you get going pretty fast, and you start coasting for a second, and if you
It's hard. People don't hear those stories. I mean, by the time Law of the Order comes out in '89, was the writing on the wall? Was it the beginning of the end for you guys already at that point, or did you look at it like this was the opportunity, and we'll just see what happens with it?
Right. Well, you do. You see the opportunities, and you make you try to think about, you try to bring your experiences into it to try to make the best possible decisions. But sometimes they're not. I made a lot of really stupid decisions in my life. Most in terms of music. I mean, lots of them, and I just didn't know. In the early days, things for me were just like everything was done on a wink and a handshake. That's the kind of person I was. I didn't need a contract with somebody if I wanted somebody to finance something or borrow something or do something, or someone wanted to, I just said, hey, it's fine. I kind of felt like everyone were friends. Everybody's friends, and because of that, you make stupid decisions. You just don't know. I mean, I won't make the stupid decision twice, but I made several just foundational, blunders. I didn't know. Heck.
And nobody does. You get into music because you want to write music. You want to, record, put out a record, meet girls, get up on stage. Not everybody's thinking of the business part of it. That's like a whole separate entity that you have to learn. And there's a steep learning curve for a lot of people. And when you think about it, you've been the one constant in the band since the beginning. Did you feel like so much of it fell on you that you had nobody to lean on to help make any kind of real decisions that maybe they had a different voice on than you?
No. I mean, you hook up again. You hook up with people that you trust, and they look at you, and they look at you straight in the face, and they say something, and it doesn't even cross your mind that they're being dishonest or deceitful or something, and you're just going to go, man, this is great. This is a great arrangement. This will be great for you. It will be great for me. Let's do this. And then something happens, turn around, and you just kind of go, what?
Yeah.
I mean, the betrayal is just a killer. Those are the things that kill you in life. I mean, those are the biggest things for me to deal with is betrayal, disappointment. Those are heavy things to happen to a person. Anybody. I'm not even talking about music. I'm talking about anything. You can relate it. Those are those heavy, life-changing moments that you have in your life, and how you respond to them is I guess what your character is made of, or what. I like to quote Friedrich Nietzsche. He says what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And I thought, yeah, that's very true.
Yeah,
it's very true. It's those breakdowns and those disappointments that really kind of mold who you are and who you'll become.
True. The band ended not long after that. Was it a relief, or was it hard to let it go after more than a decade of putting your life into it? A lot of people just feel like it's a relief off their back when something like that finally ends, because maybe there's a new song for them, something else is in the pipeline, or they have like regret over it. How did you feel when the whole thing finally came to an end?
I didn't hear the last part of the question. You kind of cut out.
Oh, I was saying, when the band ended, was it a relief that this was all behind you now, you can move on to something new, or was it hard to let go of what you spent, over 10 years putting into that band?
Well, when things stopped, if I'm getting your question right, it's hard to regroup. It's hard to kind of get it, to pick up the pieces again. I mean, there was a time that comes to mind. It was right after that contraband thing that I did, and I in like a 24-hour period, I lost my manager and my label and the record contract, and really, in some ways, at the time, kind of the respect of my band, and it was I felt as though, gosh, I mean, at the time, I was already in it for 20 years, they were really being deceived, and I mean, I was trying to act in the best interest that I knew how, as far as the band goes. Again, they were my brothers, but at the same time, I was put in a situation that was promised to me to be beneficial to the project, to my band, but in actuality, it turned out that there was some deception there, and the entire truth wasn't being shared with me. So, coming back, trying to get back to a hit, from a hit like that is it was hard, and I took some time off. I went and got back into my metal sculpture and my artwork, and did that for several years, and did some traveling, and kind of came to a place that I really wasn't that interested in doing anything with music anymore. It was just too much of a cesspool. I just don't want to deal with it anymore. And then after a few years, I would do writing and this and that, and I kind of felt the urge just to do it from a point of self-expression more than anything else. So my whole motivation had shifted because of what happened, and I kind of carry that attitude through today. I don't have that much expectation. I don't really trust the music business all that much, but they're kind of a necessary evil if you want people to hear your work.
Yeah, that's the way it is right now. But I mean, it's like I said, it's a whole different environment right now. Record companies aren't king anymore. Bands do things on their own. They get help from distribution from some labels. Is it better now to be in the music business? Because like you went through the 70s and the 80s, when the record companies ruled the world back then, and bands went to go make the bones with them. But now you do things on your own. Is it better now as a musician to have the kind of freedom and control that you do now to create music and the simplicity that's out there to record and distribute?
Well, there's two sides. There's two sides of it. Like if you look at from a musician's point of view, okay, why are you doing what you do? Okay, if all you're trying to do is just express yourself and share your thoughts through music, through a song, or whatever, and you're not really concerned with anything else, you could do that on a small level, and it doesn't really matter if you have 10 people that enjoy your work or not. But if you're trying to do it as a career, that's a different thing, because now you have to involve somebody that you have to involve several people in a company, groups of people that are going to proliferate your work, put it out there, make it available for somebody to pay something for it, and to compensate you. So there's two sides of it. You don't. So from a musician's point of view, who just wants to just write some music and sit at a street corner and play their music to a little few people that stop by, that's maybe fine. That's all they want to do, and maybe they're not so concerned that they need to generate enough money to survive. But if you're trying to make it into a career, then you have to involve people that really aren't about music at all. Sadly, they're not about it. They're not about it at all. They don't care at all. They don't care if the songs and they can hear any of my songs they want. They don't have to pay anything for it. I mean, it's essentially free for them, and the end creator, for one listen of a song on YouTube or wherever, the listener will get like fractions of a penny.
Yeah.
Fractions of a penny. And if you're not bringing in literally, millions and millions of listens and views, it's just nothing. You just can't do anything. So, and that kind of collapsed the music business in a lot of ways. Even right now, I joke right now that music is just a jingle for the T-shirt you want to sell. Why? Because you're going to make a lot more on a T-shirt than you did on your music, which is what the whole purpose was. You wanted to share your music, and it's not a shame or a crime to want to be compensated for your work. If someone enjoys your work and they get something out of it, then why shouldn't the creator of that work be compensated for it? Even if no matter what it is, it's you make a sculpture of a dog and you want to sell it to somebody. It's not a crime to have someone pay you for that, and you can have something for your efforts and for your work, and it's almost it's representative of how much they like it. But now that everything's digital, when's the last time I bought a CD, even personally? So I don't want to be a hypocrite, but I haven't bought a CD in probably maybe 3 years. Just because I wanted to listen to it in my old car. So but I didn't really even need to buy it. I could have just downloaded it, couldn't I? And just skipped everything. But who makes the money? The platforms.
Yeah.
The YouTubes of the world, they make the most money, and they get to essentially sell product that they have really nothing to do with. They just have to make it available. And you can once it's digital, you could record it as many times as you want. You don't lose any sound quality or anything to that effect. So even though the sound quality is kind of lessened anyway because it's digital, when they need to compact something to
the compression takes away from
make it into an MP3 and stuff. And most people who are not into music don't really hear it, but I'm sure you can. But you can hear the difference between even a CD and a download, or even better, like an old analog recording, like let's say a vinyl album, for crying out loud. You want to talk about fidelity, and you want to talk about deep listening to music and hearing what's really going on. I think our listening as a society has really been damaged because most people listen to music through earbuds, and small little speakers. The real music aficionado, the people that are into music. I always had big stereo. I still do have big stereo systems with big speakers and big power and proper equalization, and listen to it like I'm into it. Not only rock, any kind of music.
Yeah.
That's the way to really hear it. But today, everybody listens to it in headphones. So then when you record it digitally, you have to EQ it. You have to master it in such a way that you have to consider where they are listening to it. Through little tiny earbuds in their ear, that's what they're going to hear it through. And I don't know, from music it's kind of sad, but I'm kind of old school, right? I've been around a long time. I'm old.
I feel the same way. I'm waiting for cassettes to come back so I can listen to them in my car again.
Well, exactly. Well, the thing is with you and I then, okay, so we're on the same page, if you and I, we got to see the train before it left the station. You see, if you catch my drift here, we saw it like that. and the little bubbles in the corner, and everything's just fine. And this fish is just great, and he understands his entire world and his entire existence, and there's no problem. He's there, and that's what it is. And there's no problem until somebody comes in with a little net and pulls him out of the fishbowl just for a moment. And when the water clears from his eyes, he looks around and realizes that there's an entire planet there, an entire world. And then he gets plopped back to his fishbowl. Now, in that exact moment, that home, that comfort place that fish was used to has become a prison all of a sudden, in a flash, and he never knew. Wouldn't it have been better if he was just not pulled out?
Absolutely, that's a great analogy.
But that's how our lives are as well. Sometimes you just learn things and you just go, gosh, I wish I could unlearn that. Or I wish I wouldn't have seen that. I remember when people used to tell me, oh, did you see, a few years ago when those people were doing those beheadings in the Mideast, and they're, oh, did you see that guy, that video where the guy got his head cut off? I'm like, no, I didn't, and I don't care to see it. Why? Because once I see it, I can't unsee it. I got to be very careful and very selective and very particular about what I expose myself to. So, these are the things. When you're younger, you don't have you can't necessarily make those decisions because, you want everything and you want everything as much as possible, but some things that are left unsaid, I guess.
Yeah. I couldn't agree with you anymore. This is the world we live in right now. I don't even want to walk out the door right now. You got me so afraid of what I'm going to see out there. I'm going to stay in the house, I think, today. But no, I completely understand that and get that. You're right. It makes complete sense. And, putting that into the music world, it makes it even more of a double dare in a way. But, getting back to the Bloodline record, when you put it out again, you added Someday to it, a brand new song. At least I think it was brand new. I don't know if you had it around for a while and it was just written for the re-release, but what an incredible song. This song, it touched me in a whole bunch of different ways, and I'm sure everybody can look at it and have a different perspective on how they take away what the song is about, but it's just a real powerful song. I don't know if you realize how strong it is.
It's a very new song. It was written post-COVID, unlike the rest of the album, which was pre-COVID, which ended up now, when you look back at Bloodline, you can realize that this album is a very prophetic album. Why it talks and exposes a lot of things that didn't even happen for almost like 9 months after, and all of a sudden we find ourselves in a situation. And the song is about the corruption in the world. It's about patriotism. It's about nationalism. It's about the horrors that we have to live through. And we released the album, and like I said, it was just to our fans. And then once we went with the label company, they wanted something. They said, well, we need something a couple extra tracks, just to to make it different from the album that you released. So I wrote that song, and as you can see, where our talk has gone, I'm in a certain kind of frame of mind right now, and in a certain time when I'm really kind of opening my eyes. And this idea of Someday, I was writing it as a kind of a companion song for the last track on the album called On and On. And again, it was written after COVID, when I really kind of examined my life, and I noticed the pattern with not only with myself but with a lot of guys I know. And the song is largely written to the guys. It's for the guys, and it's kind of it's not a warning, because I'm not trying to preach, but I'm just trying to express, look, time, life is fleeting. This is not a rehearsal. This is your life. Right now, right here, point blank, in your face, this is it. We're not going to get it back. We're not going to get the time of this interview back. This is it.
Yeah.
We're using it up. This This is it. And if you have any plans to do anything in your life, if it's a plan just to be better, just to be a better man, just to do something that you want to do, you need to do it now, because you can't add a minute to your life. It's just when your time's up, it's up, and you're gone, and we're going to die, and I'm going to die, and you're going to die, and every single person that's listening to this is going to die, and that's it. So someday is like the ultimate procrastination. Someday, well, I'm going to do that tomorrow. I'll do that tomorrow. But what if there isn't tomorrow?
Yep.
What if there isn't in the next week? Then what are you going to do? Then you just wasted it all now, didn't you? And that's what I was trying to capture in the song. I was just trying to capture it. So listen, don't waste a moment. Now, sooner the better. Don't put it off anymore. Especially being a better man.
That's so true. I mean, the album is still brand new. I mean, people are still getting a hold of it, listening to it. But I hope we don't have to wait a long time for another one. Between Gathering the Faithful, this was like 13 years. So, I mean, is it just when the moment strikes you, when you feel like writing right now, is when you're going to put it out, or are you looking to be on a more consistent, release thing for new music?
Well, it all depends. When I wrote this, my intent was that this would be really kind of my swan song. Will be like the end, right? Like I said, this is my last album. I'm not going to do any more. It's just like it's too hard to justify it financially, time-wise. I mean, it's hard to justify. I mean, if you're going to put this much work into something, and there isn't anything, positive on the backside, or enough positive, it's hard to justify. You got to kind of weigh it. Is this worth my time right now to invest 6 months of my life right now and put everything at rest? Your family, your friends, everything is like, I'm just going to put it off right now. Well, sometimes it's worth it. Sometimes it shows up as it affecting people and having a positive impact. Sometimes it shows up as some money. Oh, you get some money and you go, that's cool. But, have to get people. Sometimes, but if it's nothing, it's kind of hard to justify. If it's just a matter of me writing songs just to kind of get something off my chest, to have some kind of a, release of an idea, that's one thing. I mean, I'll never say never. This album is doing a lot better than I had thought, but I'm considering. I haven't been more open to trying something again than in the last couple of weeks. When in the last month, I'd say I was looking back, going, "Gosh, this is really kind of hitting home with a lot of people." You're not the only one that heard sometime and went, "Oh my God!" I mean, it has literally brought people to tears that I know. They listened to it, and I just went, "Wow." Well, I go, that's an effect, isn't it? That's a payoff. That's worth more than money. Yeah. To have somebody look at it and have something really, some kind of a positive, experience from it, or just make them think about something, look at themselves, like maybe it's like a mirror for themselves. I mean, that's worth it. I would invest my life to have people have that, even if I didn't make any money. But if you didn't have that, or you didn't have the money, or you didn't have anything, then it's hard to justify. So now I'm thinking in the last couple of months, I go, wow, maybe. But then again, maybe the album will be quite different. Because, I mean, you have rockers on the album, like, Rocks on the Rocks and Fire in the House, those songs on those are really very, very classically written rockers. They really are. In the colors of real genuine hard rock, written by someone who, again, saw the train before it left the station. I mean, this is authentic hard rock, But the thing that I find interesting more of that. So I've been toying with that idea, but nothing yet. This is all still really fresh, and there's still a lot of surprises coming out of it. So it's too early to tell, but I won't say never for sure. And it may be sooner than later. Who knows? But it'll all depend.
I hope so, but if Bloodline is your swan song, you're going out on a high note. Richie, I'm not going to keep you, man. I know it's your birthday, and I appreciate you taking out all this time to talk to me today, but I hope you do keep going with it, because it's so great to have you back putting out this music again, and what an amazing job you did on Bloodline. So I do hope we get more, but if not, this is an amazing album to go by.
Thanks, Mike. That's really kind of you to say. I appreciate it. I'm glad you like it.
It's my pleasure, my friend, and you have a great day, and enjoy the holidays, please.
You too. See you later.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Yesterday I think I was just like you, making plans for all the things I do. I rolled my eyes when I was 17. The years have passed and so have all my dreams. Someday I will be a better man. Someday I'll do more than I think I can. Once upon a time I said I'll wait a little longer. I like to say what doesn't kill you will only make you stronger. But someday I will be a better man. I do more than I think I can. Someday, yeah, I'll do exactly what I say. When it's spring and summer to knowing that I catch you when you fall. But someday I will be a better man. Yeah, someday,